I don't think there's a more perfect time than to talk about this album than this Young Thug situation. One of my favorite albums of all time. Probably my favorite Kendrick Lamar album because what it did for me. But I want to take y'all to the Mother I Sober song because that's what I see and that's what I hear when I see Young Thug. See, Mr. Morale and the Big Step is playing itself out in reality because it's the truth of our reality. On Mother I Sober, Kendrick said a lot of things in that last verse and just threw out of it. His first words in Mother I Sober was,
"One man standing on two words, heal everybody."
I think a lot of people forget that aspect of God, on how God was not with you perfect people in the comment section, right? Fuck him. Oh, he ain't my brother. He ain't this, he ain't that. I'm perfect. He ain't with y'all. He with Young Thug. The energy and the spirit that is Jesus was with the killers. He was with the murderers and the drug dealers. So when I hear Kendrick says, heal everybody, coping mechanisms. You never felt the guilt until you felt it sober. Victims in the public eye. Every other rapper essentially abused.
I see them daily, burying they pain in chains and tattoos.
I can't help but think of Thug. And so I get it. Hold accountability to this, that, and the third. But when you watch that Big Bank interview, shout out to Big Bank. Amazing interview. I watched all 2 hours and 59 minutes of it twice. He started out with Young Thug's childhood.
Conversation not being addressed in black families.
He started out, easing him up, talking about his childhood. And when Thug said he was like one of 11.
The devastation haunting generations and humanity.
My dad is one of 10 plus the parents. That's like 12 to 13 people that are going through this traumatic experience. And so I find empathy in him because I see similarities within my story, my dad's story, my mother's story, my wife's story, all the trauma, the untreated trauma. Big Bank said that word, and that to me was one of the things that I tweeted that was extremely important, the untreated trauma. As we're watching Drake bleed all over everybody, I feel as though the industry and the world is bleeding over everybody because we keep trying to put band-aids on broken arms. We keep trying to bury our pain with alcohol and drugs. We try to bury our pain in music consumption, in movies, Netflix, Chick-fil-A. There's a lot of addiction out there that's being masked as hobbies, and even me with all of the sneakers, all of the shoes. I remember very vividly growing up and I only had like 4 shirts. I wore a uniform up until like 5th grade, and then we was in the shelter. It started getting kind of crazy between 4th and 5th grade. My mother we was going to move to Baltimore. Things started to get messed up. And so I know my consumption of sneakers, even though I've always been a sneakerhead, I love the stories behind it. I love art. I love to wear my art, fashion, and I love all of that. But it comes from not having. It comes from feeling like I knew I was always the man, but I always felt like, man, I would be the man if I had the shoes. So I went and bought more shoes than I really needed. And so I know where that trauma is linked to. And this album really made me start looking at things differently. It really started making me have empathy for us, for our story, and what we've really been going through throughout our journey in America.
Psychotic torture between our lives.
As African Americans, as black people, globally.
We ain't recovered, still living as victims in the public eye.
Andre 3000 said, why do throughout culture do the darkest people suffer most? And I feel like that, And so when I'm looking at this Thug story, I'm seeing what Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers was about. I mean, what's the difference between Kodak Black and Young Thug? We often forget that God and the story of God is not to save you perfect people over there in the comment section. It ain't for y'all. It's for the thugs. Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers is for the Young Thugs of the world. It's for the Offsets of the world. It's for the Glasses Malones of the world. It's for the Reedmysoles of the world.
Every other brother has been compromised. I know the secrets.
To where we're walking around with untreated trauma, and it hardened, and we got a callus. It turned into a callus, and now we're moving around with this hardened thing on us that's not natural. That's not even supposed to be nowhere near natural, and it's become our whole identity. We all go through something. We all go through trauma, and it's untreated. So my wife fell in love with me. That was her running away from her trauma. She ran from one thing into this thing, and this thing wasn't necessarily ready. It's still not ready for all of this, but we just rush into these things with the wrong equipment. We're not prepared. We're not properly trained. We're not properly equipped. When I listen to Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, and I hear that, I hope I'm not too late to set my demons straight, it hits me. When my brother hears, I love when you count me out, he cries and calls me and said, bro, I cried because I'm thinking of you. This is you. This song is you, my big brother. And every time I hear that song, it's funny because I thought, I hope I'm not too late to set my demons straight. I thought that was my song. But when my brother said that to me, I instantly heard Count Me Out differently. I know I'm speaking, but this is a little bit more this ain't even about Thug. This is about us. It's about all of us. And when I heard this album, a lot of people like, man, there was other introspective deep albums before, but there wasn't the Mr. Morale and the Big Step. There wasn't a this. This was something different. This was a 5-year hiatus, and I'm gonna give you this.
Black families and a sodomy today is still active.
I'm gonna give you this album. So I went and I bought the box set, and I knew instantly from the time I pressed play to the time it ended that this was one of the greatest hip hop albums of all time, and we wouldn't really see it play through until years later. A lot of the most amazing albums in the world, you don't really see it until it becomes physical. These are just airwaves. These are just vibrations, and I felt the vibrations of change, not only in myself, but in the reality. And what we're seeing is, in America, we're seeing a lot of hurt people.
That's the culture. Crack a bottle. Hard to deal with the pain when you're sober.
A lot of people didn't understand, what was that, the Heart Part 5? I understood it. I got exactly what he was saying. Our culture is hurt people.
In a land where hurt people hurt more people. Fuck calling it culture.
I was recently on with Glasses Malone, and I don't think he understood what I was getting him to try to say. That a lot of what we're doing, a lot of what we have attached ourselves to was because of trauma, was because of pain. It was because our skin was politicized. Our skin was weaponized on multiple sides of the aisles. So when I hear a thug, automatically have sympathy for him because this is what this... Bring it back. Hold on. This is what this album was about. There are a lot of albums that I have in my collection. This album is actually open. But this album was made for Young Thug. This album was made for me. People who have not healed their traumas of their childhood. And so, I recently did a podcast with Glasses, and I was trying to plant the seeds of, bro, a lot of what we put on, a lot of the mask that we put on is due to white supremacy, is due to colonialism, is due to the issues that this system has placed upon us. And so when I see Thug, I think of those words, heal everybody.
I'm sensitive. I feel everything. I feel everybody.
Why can't Young Thug have redemption? Why can't he be healed? Empathy is something that everybody lacks out there, especially when you get on the internet. Like, I get it. Behind the keyboard, you barely got your face involved. It feels good to just, I'm better than Thug. Bro, I'm no better than Thug. I should have took more risks. I should have been where I was supposed to be a long time ago, but I was scared and I was cowardice. It's fun. I have my jokes and the party in Atlanta must die. Yes, I stand on all of that still. From the ashes, something needs to come out of the ashes of this fire. It's not just more fire. I see that oftentimes in the universe where nobody's giving solutions. Everybody just want to burn things down, but nobody wants to build. Nobody's giving solutions. It's all doom and gloom with no solutions. The system that we in is crazy and it's very complex. And so there's a lot of healing we all have to do. We're all walking around with untreated trauma. And those who are getting treated, shout out to you, man. If you were really healed, you wouldn't be going around nitpicking at everything. If you were really healed, you will find the nuance in things and you will have understanding. You'll have empathy for a person who isn't healed. And so when I hear Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, I can't help but think of me. I remember wanting to sell out. I had my job at Nike. Everything was good. Sneakers, girls. I had a little playground where I was the man. I was good at it. Nothing really challenging me besides folding clothes, because I hated folding clothes. Folding t-shirts. Oh, Nike used to have all of the craziest sayings on these t-shirts and everybody would run through them and you had to fold them. I hated it. Couldn't stand it. But I remember that voice that came to me and was like, this is what you want, bro? And I walked away from Nike. And then I came back and tried to sell out every time. Every time I tried to sell out, I would move that voice of, this ain't for you. And I would find comfort in the system. I would find comfort in the corporations. I would find comfort in the plantation because that was easy. I was avoiding this. This is being vulnerable. This is being honest. This is opening myself up for criticism. This is opening myself up for attacks. The people that are negative and hateful and are doing everything for clout and content and for clicks and likes and for money. I open myself up to the negativity, for the dark, for the people to come at me. But it's so rewarding because I cannot continue to sell out. I had all of these different jobs. After I told myself not to sell out, I kept trying to sell out and it just didn't work for me. I had to do this, and this is vulnerable. The crazy thing about Thug is the one thing he's against is the one thing he has to do in order to heal. It's to be vulnerable. It's to be honest. It's to heal your trauma. A lot of the things that we go through the system that we think is normal, that we think is our choice, that's the system putting it on us. And so when I hear Mr. Morale and Big Steppers, I find it hilarious that one of the people that said Big Steppers the most, I'm a stepper. First time I really started hearing that word be popularized was with Young Thug. So when I hear Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, all I think is Kodak Black, Young Thug, same energy. So we got to remember who these things are for and what these things are for. And so as I'm trying to figure out how to heal my trauma and figure out how to overcome my cowardness and overcome my issues, I look at Young Thug with empathy. I have sympathy for him. I always have. I have sympathy for Drake because we're supposed to. We're never supposed to just burn the village down. We're never supposed to just throw somebody out in the bathwater, no matter what. And that's what we have to get comfortable with. We have to get comfortable with people we don't agree with. We have to get comfortable with, and we have to understand what to do with the people that make mistakes. We have to figure out what to do, because one day it's all prison reform. Prisoners are treated wrong. They need more rights. They got to pay for this. They got to pay for that. Da, 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 da. Private prisons, da, 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 da. And we know how the prison industrial complex is. But then we see what Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers is talking about, aka Young Thug. We see it, and yet we bash and we laugh and we shout out to Wayno. I've been looking at a lot of Wayno's content on this, and I love the way Wayno weaves in accountability with empathy, because that's all it is. Accountability has to come with empathy. If not, you just being cruel and unusual punishment, right? I'm not a component of the death penalty. It's very expensive. A lot of times they don't even be having the right person, but I'm not a component of just, that's it, get rid of a person. That's just not me. But we have to remember a lot of our ideologies and a lot of our thoughts we've adopted from our own oppressor that will use the same tactics on us. Like that. This is a very nuanced conversation, but Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers was made and designed for people like Young Thug. So we have to remember that. We have to find the parallels within ourselves. I told a comment where somebody was like, he ain't my brother. I was like, yo, listen, the story of Cain and Abel, they were brothers. Cain killed Abel. They were still brothers. No matter how that story ended out, they were still brothers. And so we must really start to look inward and find peace within ourselves and heal. Because if not, we're not going to learn anything from this Thug situation. Locking people up in chains and separating them from society in a barbaric way, in a barbaric, malicious, cruel way, ain't gonna solve anything, because that's fear. You can't fear somebody into acting right. You can't legislate somebody into not being racist. You can't fear people into following the rules. We have to have a conversation, and we need to look internally to figure out, how do we deal with the thugs of the world? Is throwing them away, locking them up in a system that is clearly barbaric, that is clearly cruel, is that right? I mean, they got dogs and cats and honey buns in there now. I mean, they don't seem that cruel to me anymore. That Big Bank interview was extremely important, because that's what we were watching. We were watching Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers. And so as I listen to Mother I Sober, and I listen to the trauma that Kendrick is working through, and he's still working through it. You know, this is a journey, not a destination. So we're not just going to arrive at a point and everything going to be perfect. We're not just going to get rid of all the illegals and everything going to be perfect in America. It takes work. And so we have an administration that's showing you what cruelness is. And instead of getting the other Jeffrey files, we're getting these Jeffrey files, and we're being cruel about it. We're acting just like the oppressor with this situation. And so, yes, Thug needs accountability. Yes, but he's working towards that. I mean, he told us he was a snake, he was a slime, and we like that, right? That's a large part of the culture loves that. I don't think my supporters and my subscribers are mostly on that side, but when you hear what Kendrick is talking about, he's talking about Thug. That's what he laid the foundation down for, is for Young Thug. So we got to remember that, and we got to have a little bit of empathy and think of things in a little nuance. And my last video, a lot of people was caught up on the privacy thing. And I wanted people to get caught up on that, because we think we have privacy. We think that we can't just get detained for no reason and thrown away. We think that our phones aren't being recorded. We think that we live in a world where everything is private. I'm pretty sure Thug believed that those were private, they were being recorded. Yes, of course, we all know that. But would they be leaked to the public? Imagine if your private conversation. So we all have the preconceived notion that nobody is listening, that we got privacy, but we got just the same amount of privacy as Thug did in that prison phone call. And we subscribe to it. I think people miss that point, that you subscribe to the same amount of recordings as Young Thug. The messed up thing is, you don't know. You think you're not Young Thug, but we all are Young Thug. And it's all some Young Thug in us. And if not, if you healed, perfect. I don't want to see no negative comments then. I don't want to see you bashing another person, because that's not what being healed is. But when I step back and I think about it, there's no difference between me and the Thug. And oftentimes street dudes like to just bring man code and what they think and their idea of what a man is into the streets. Man, that's just being a man. I'm just being a real nigga. I think Young Thug said he was a real nigga so many times. It was like, okay, we get it. You're a real nigga. The ideas and the foundations of a real nigga has nothing to do with the streets. It's everything to do with the pain. Has everything to do with the trauma that is untreated. And thus, instead of fixing it, instead of changing it, you become this callous individual. When I listen to Mr. Morale and the Big Steppers, I can't help but think about Thug. Let me know how you feel in the comment section. The conversation continues with you. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe, ring that notification bell so you can be notified whenever I drop these videos. Donate to this Cash App. Anything is appreciated. Join to be a member. Link is in the description. We are doing a giveaway over there. So make sure you become a member. It ain't that expensive. You get what I'm saying? You get a lot of dope content. I got a backlog of content there. I even got like a mini movie called Hitting. I got a lot of stuff over there, man. Some videos, some music that I've done. Join the Good Readers Club today. Read my soul. I appreciate y'all. Remember, I'm not here to be right. I'm just here to be me. And if you're looking for the right opinion, I don't know where you can find it, but you just got my opinion. Sound off about it in the comment section. Peace.